Hi, and welcome to the Sclero-Sun podcast. My name is Emmanuel Munda. I am the Scleroderma Foundation Southern California Chapter Community Development Manager. And that's another deep breath for me. We just wanted to thank you guys so much for all your support this month, especially for Scleroderma Awareness Month, or sorry, June for Scleroderma Awareness Month. We kicked it off with our virtual stepping out to cure scleroderma, and we had so many people watching it. We're still people watching it, and I check the views every day, and it keeps growing and growing. And it's so great to see all the support coming in. We're hitting about $40,000 now, and I think we're gonna beat that by the end of this week or next week. So please keep donating. It's www.scleroderma.org// stepping out SoCal. We're going to continue the same campaign all the way up to September, so please continue to donate. And if you have teams, continue to ask people for donations. There is a Facebook integration. There's a video in there, so you'll know how to integrate Facebook fundraising into your teams as well too, because we're not going to announce any of the team winners. People were wondering why we didn't do any team challenge announcements and all this stuff until later on this year, because we want to bring in our other stepping outs, which is going to be so cool. Because right now I'm waiting on a couple of contracts and a couple of green lights, both from national and from our local parks and recs government, wherever I turn in our permits to be able to do our stepping outs live. And I am so looking forward to it. As much as I love the virtual and it was fun and great, I'd rather come and say hi, give you a hug, smell your breath, especially after you eating a bunch of those tacos that we normally serve at our stepping out. It's going to be awesome. And so we're hoping for San Diego. We're waiting on that right now. And then after San Diego, we're going to do our Bark for a Cure, and we're going to do it live. So we're hoping for a little doggy costume fashion show as well too. I'm reaching out to a couple of other organizations to help us out, maybe do some adoption things. It's going to be great. It's also going to be our calendar. We're still going to do our calendar contest, because I think last year was a hit. Tina's little baby was great in the lobster costume, so that was awesome. Also, Santa Barbara, we're looking to have some wine with you, so it's going to be stepping out with some wine. I know it's not driving, you're walking around with wine glasses instead. So working on that, working on a lot of things for this year, for this, as in this second half of the year. Can you believe it? It's already July. We're already on the second half of the year, and it's just going by so quick, and 2022 is coming by, and we're going to hit that hard as well too. So stay tuned for that. Speaking of which, also Icy Hands Challenge, guys. We're still on it. So Southern California is definitely still down to do the Icy Hands Challenge. Now remember, if you do have scleroderma, or you have sores, or you just can't get your hands cold, don't do it. This is for all of our patients who want to let people who care about them that aren't patients know how it feels to wake up every single day when their hands are blue and red and white and different colors and cold and stiff and painful. So please check it out, scleroderma.org/icy hands. Do the challenge. If you're not a scleroderma patient, spread the word and donate. I mean, this is the best way for people to raise a little bit of awareness on what the regular scleroderma patients, or at least 95% of scleroderma patients, go through every single day. So please do that. Also, Amazon Smile. Make sure you look for Scleroderma Foundation Southern California chapter. We always get a nice little tiny percentage of every single one of your purchases. It doesn't affect the prices of your Amazon purchases, as well as Ralph's. So if you're in Southern California, it's Ralph's. I know if you're somewhere else, it's a whatever Kroger grocery store there is. But register Scleroderma Foundation Southern California chapter and swipe your card, and every time you give them your phone number, we get a small percentage as well too. So you can be shopping and raising funds for research, for support, for a lot of things. Tina's working hard on I think hybridizing our support groups as well too, to see how we're going to do that once things are opened up, and once we get the green lights for everything and things are opening up. I know, because we're going to Disneyland this week. It's gonna be great. I'll let you know how it is for scleroderma patient because my wife's gonna be running around in her mobility scooter, probably running over toes just to get to the next ride. So it's gonna be really really fun. All right. So our guest today, I got to hear him speak in Arizona in 2017 as one of our keynote speakers at the Scleroderma Foundation's conference. All right, and of course, scleroderma.org/conference for this year's virtual conference. And it was definitely one of those things that give you hope. He's an author. He's a scleroderma survivor. I mean, it's hard to say patient. It's easier to say warrior or survivor because everybody's just fighting through this right now. And he's also going to be speaking at one of our combined support groups on July 10th. So please stay tuned for that. Go to our website, scleroderma.org/SoCal for more information. Please welcome Andrew Botieri. Andrew.
Manuel, thank you. And Tina, thank you very much.
Why did I forget one of my most important friends and colleagues over here? Hold on, I got to do something with my my computer here to make sure that y'all are getting seen because everybody's just seeing my face. And we'll switch that remove pen. There we go. And my co-host. I can't forget my wonderful, beautiful co-host all the way from Torrance, California, Miss Tina Berger.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
I had to make it big for you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're very excited to have Andrew. And one of the things I wanted to say is I always say that this pandemic, while it's been very difficult for many people on so many levels, the one great thing that's come out of it is the communities that we've brought together near and far. And someone like Andrew, that I don't know if we would have even thought about reaching out to people so far away if not for this virtual platform. And I thought it would be kind of cool for you all to know that I wasn't even sure if he would respond. I actually sent him an instant message on Facebook and told him that we would really love to hear from him, that we have a lot of gentlemen in California that could really use his inspiration and hear his story and learn more about how somebody fights through being a warrior at the level that Andrew is. And he responded right away. And we talked on the phone. We had a wonderful conversation, and I asked him if he would be willing to share some of his knowledge and his inspiring story and his coping from a male's perspective, which I think is really important. And without hesitation, he said yes. So I just want you to know, Andrew, how much I appreciate it. And people have heard me say this 1,000 times, and I'm going to say it one more time, which is I am blessed with the people I've met with scleroderma, and I wouldn't be the woman I am today without the people that I've met over the last 30 years that have helped shape me into the woman that I am. And you're definitely one of them, and we're honored to have you with us today. So I wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Tina.
So we wanted to get to know you, and I didn't want to give too much away on your talk. And so I thought we'd start with, my normal question, which I think is always so important, is I always want to know when your symptoms began. And we all know that usually your symptoms are at one point, but your diagnosis is usually at another. And when you finally got diagnosed. So what your first symptom was and how long after were you diagnosed?
I was actually, I was living in Scottsdale at the time, and also had a office up in San Francisco. We were doing a startup.com, inventing the first website that you could actually search for an apartment on. And luckily we were able to take that public. But I started to, carrying around my briefcase, my hands would just felt stiff and swollen. And then in the mornings I would wake up and my hands felt like they had pins and needles. And so you start shaking them out. And of course you just think that, I just laid on my, I slept on my hands. And that went on for about a couple of weeks. Then I'd wake up and my feet felt swollen. It almost felt like somebody took a stick and beat the bottoms of them. They were so sore that I had to gingerly walk around the bedroom just to get the blood circulating. And again, I'm a workaholic. I don't make any excuses. And so I just kept plugging on and plugging on. finally, one of my executive assistant, I was kind of cute. She sat on my desk and she wouldn't move. And she says, "You got to get a doctor's appointment." So I did get a doctor's appointment and I went to see the doctor and he says, "Well, how old are you?" And I said, "I'm 40 years old." And he said, "It must be rheumatoid arthritis." So my dad had it, my grandmother had it, and I just, hey, I got work to do. So I just kind of lodged that in the back of my head. But then it just kept getting worse. I would start feeling, even with shoes on, my feet would hurt, my hands would hurt. And then finally, I moved up to San Francisco. And then in October of '99, I'll never forget it. Doctor came out, ran some tests, and he came out and he says, "You have scleroderma." And I looked at him and I said, "Sclero what?" And he said, "Scleroderma." Well, this is back in October of 1999, where there are no male statistics to speak of. He said the mortality rate in women was 50%. And I said, "So what do we do?" And he said, "You just got to run its course." And I'll never forget how the weakness in my knees, I had to grab the back of a chair to keep from falling over. And here I was, corporate guy, had an incredible career path, jettisoned right up to the top. And now all of a sudden I was looking at my mortality. And I was just like, no, this can't be happening. So then they put me on some medications and stuff like that. But it just wasn't getting any better. But like you said, just got to let it run its course. And then ironically, in June of 2000, I'd gone to the National Apartment Association's trade show, feeling very lethargic. Even people now after the fact said, "You looked very gray." And I came home, got an appointment with that same doctor. He said, "Yeah, your levels in your kidneys aren't looking too good." He said, "Let's get an appointment with a nephrologist," which is a kidney doctor.
Right.
And I said, "Okay." So that was June 25th of 2000. I wake up and the appointment was set for June 29th, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow is my 21st anniversary of my son, of almost dying.
Wow.
I woke up that morning. The blood pressure was so intense. My head hurt. I never get headaches. I couldn't, my vision was going. And my girlfriend at the time lived down the street. Not only couldn't I remember her phone number, I couldn't even remember her name. And by the grace of God, I was actually able to get a hold of a friend. He came to pick me up. And because I had a nephrologist appointment. God forbid you can't miss your appointment while you're not realizing I'm going through renal failure.
Yeah.
So he shoots me down to the nephrologist. We get to the office and they come out with a wheelchair. And the last thing I remember is slumping over to my right side. And I had gone into convulsions and eventually lapsed into a coma from renal failure. My blood pressure when I was admitted to the ER was 270/170. I had hemorrhaging in the brain. And, pretty much they made 2 calls, one to family and the other to a priest to come in and give me my last rites.
Wow, Andrew. And I know that a lot of what we're talking about, I don't want to give too much away for your talk next week. But I know that if we think about that in a very short period of time, I'm kind of bothered that the doctor said we're just going to let it run its course, while we know that there, to a degree, that's something that we can expect. It's really important that maybe these things were being watched a little bit better during that course of those 6 months, because maybe they would have been able to catch some of the things that are going on, because that's what it was. In a matter of 6 months, you were in renal crisis. And I think that back then, I don't think they were watching it as much as they do today. Now it's sort of gold standard that people check their blood pressure and things like that. But like you said, you almost lost your life. And here you are, had an appointment the day after, and you ended up in the hospital. So I just thought I would mention that. And so I don't want to give too much away. So we're going to leave everybody with a cliffhanger right there. Okay. I know that, and I want to mention something to you. I also saw you at that conference, and I was quite impressed. And when the foundation gave us all videos, I had a meeting once without a speaker, and I asked everybody what video they'd like to pick, and they picked yours. And I'll never forget this, that I had a couple there, and this woman had been coming to the meetings, and she wanted her husband to come, and he didn't come, and he finally came this day. And as we're watching your video and you're talking about some of your symptoms in scleroderma, I remember him looking over at her, kind of with that look on his face, like, he sounds like you. The look on her face was, that's what I've been trying to tell you. And it was a moment of humility for him and validation for her. That moment, I'll never forget that. Do you know that? I watched that moment while they watched our video and had that moment of clarity and validation. And those are my moments that I love in a meeting, where we can help families understand what somebody else is going through. So I wanted you to know about that day. I've never forgotten it. I've even mentioned it many times at a meeting. So just so you know.
Thank you.
So I know that another reason I had reached out to you is because of all the men that I know that are dealing with scleroderma. And I know it's difficult. We know that, you know, it's 80% in women, 20% in men. And you created a Facebook page with another gentleman called Sclero-Men. And I want to know what brought you to that place. When and why did you create the Facebook page Sclero-Men just for men?
Well, actually, it was created by the Tri-City up in upstate New York.
Okay.
And Mary Beth, who's no longer with the organization, and oh, he's gonna kill me. He just retired as executive. Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, his wife obviously
Yes.
passed from scleroderma, and so they wanted to. It just got to be too big. They wanted National to take it over, and they approached myself and Lee out of Florida if we would be interested in taking it over, and we, you know, didn't even hesitate. I mean, it was yes, because like you said, that, you know, 20% are male. And as you probably hear too, Tina, in your support groups and from your other support leaders, is so many people who have this disease think they're by themselves, that they're the only ones on this planet that have what I call the uninvited guest. And so it's something where we just jumped at it. I think when we started, we probably had, oh gosh, just probably under 100 men that had subscribed to it. And last check, which was a couple of days ago, we've got 293 men worldwide who are on this Facebook page. And we commiserate together, we cry together, we pray together, we laugh together, we support each other when somebody's going in for an operation. You wouldn't believe the amount of interaction from guys all over the world. And, you know, some, you know, don't even speak English, but they get their point across. And we have really created a community like all the other scleroderma groups are, but this is really just one where, you know, we're in this together. And, you know, we've had a couple of our scleromen that have passed away in the past year. And, you know, it really,
I'm sorry, Andrew.
It's hard because you realize how lucky you are to still be alive.
Yes, absolutely. But I also say that in this course, they had you and they had the rest of the gentlemen to help them through some of these very tough times. And we know that without it, it wouldn't have been the same. So I always say that you definitely gave them that hope and you gave them that perseverance while they were going through that. But I am so sorry for the loss.
Yeah, and you know, we just, you know, we lost Misty Russia last year, and it's just, you know, people who you just, again, you know, as you were talking about with that couple, you know, so many people, unless you tell them what you experience, you know, the thing I get from a lot of people is, you look good. Well, most of the stuff's internal and they don't realize. And if you don't have a good support system, it's tough. It's really, really hard. That's why you see, divorces and this and that, because and I'm blessed to have not only my girlfriend, Jenny, who's been there for me, but my family, my siblings, and my parents when they were alive. They were there. They had to come, fly across the country, come see me. But it's important that you, as I tell people, you got to educate those around you and have them come to appointments with you and things along those lines. Because until they understand, they don't understand.
I agree 100%. And, as you're saying this, I was in the field, as working, in rheumatology, and a lot of the men didn't do a very good job expressing the truth when they would see the doctor, and the wives would have to give them a nudge and say, tell them about this and tell them about that. And what about this? So I wonder if you run into that a lot, and what I see in you is that you sort of set that example that helps them maybe be a little bit more open to being vulnerable at a doctor's appointment, or even with their families, to talk a little bit more. I think you set that precedence.
Well, it's, and maybe it's my corporate background, my curiosity background, but before I went to any doctor's appointment, I had a list of questions that I wrote out. Because, if you don't do that, as you start getting feedback from the doctor, you start getting a diagnosis on this or that. Some of it can be so overwhelming that you're not going to remember the questions that, some of your symptoms that you're having. And I remember I was, after I had got out of the hospital, and I went to see a scleroderma doctor in Scottsdale. He had an intern, and he kept asking the intern questions, and I kept answering. And the doctor turns to me and says, Andrew, no, stop answering these questions. But the way I looked at it, and I have this message for everybody, male or female. If you have a disease that may kill you at some point, or at least debilitate you, find out as much as you can about it. Learn more about it than it knows about you. And it's just really important that so that when you are with a doctor, you understand instead of letting it just fly over your head. And
Absolutely.
Take notes when you go to the doctors.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Makes sense to me.
I appreciate you saying that. And I think that more people need to hear that. And as you know, I've bugged you a few times, and I've put together a group of men living with scleroderma, because some of the gentlemen that I'm meeting for the first time are very overwhelmed with this diagnosis. And so my question is, were you a public speaker before your journey with scleroderma, or is this what prompted you to start public speaking?
No, I was a public speaker, motivational speaker prior to, and I just really think that God gave me this platform to be an advocate. And, I really feel that in our blueprint of life, that this was supposed to happen to me. This was part of my plan. And, some days it sucks. But again, I'm a lot better off than, most people who have this disease. So I feel blessed in that respect. But there's a message that needs to be sent out, and others do it as well within our community. But I figured I had the skill set, and I might as well capitalize and make the best of it.
Well said. I know that you wrote a book, and I would like you to tell us a little bit about that book and where people can purchase this book.
You mean this book?
Yes, that book.
Yeah, it's called The Celebration of Life, a story of hope, a miracle, and the power of attitude. You can find it at andrewbotieri.com, BOTIERI.com. When you go there, you'll see the website. The book is on the left side of the website. I now work for another company, so I can't have my website up anymore, not for at least till the end of the year. And so just click on the book. It'll take you to the cart. And I personally autographed every book. If you want to put a message in there for somebody or yourself, do that. And I'll autograph it and then ship the book out to you.
I think that's wonderful. And we'll also make sure that we share that with everybody that registers for your talk too.
Perfect.
I,
Thank you.
I think that you sharing the story and your vulnerability, I think will help a lot of gentlemen that are going through this for the first time, or maybe have been going through it and just didn't know how to find their voice. So I appreciate that you have been so open and sharing your journey and being so vulnerable, because I think that's very difficult sometimes. And, you know, we've talked about this, the difference between the way a woman addresses illness and the way a man addresses illness. Hence, I think one of the strong reasons that you continue to be a part of Sclero-Men, and how much we appreciate that. Your talk is based, I think, on most of your book. Can you give us a glimpse of what you'll be discussing during that presentation?
Yeah, the only part of the book that I don't talk about in my talk is attending Larry Flint's wedding. So that's a story altogether. In Southern California, up in Hollywood Hills. But the book is really about, well, just like it says, it celebration of life, a story of hope, a miracle, and the power of attitude. And so my talk is really going to be about the acronym of HOPE. And I break that down into the H stands for heal thyself. The O stands for optimistic, or, you know, having optimism. And the P is for power of prayer. You know, I grew up as a Catholic. I've always been very spiritual, more spiritual than I would say religious. And there's incidences in the book where I really feel that God and the hand of Jesus came down and saved my life. And then E is to empower. You need to empower yourself, empower others around you, because that's how you get through this. I mean, you're going to have your ups and downs. You know, when I found out that I had interstitial lung disease back in 2016, again, it was like somebody hit me, punched me in the stomach. And, you know, everybody's like, gosh, you know, we're sorry for you. But, you know, everybody has a cross to bear. And this just happens to be my cross. So, and I'm going to also be talking about, again, about prayer, but also about positive attitude.
Yes, I'm so glad, because
you have to have it.
Absolutely. And Andrew, over the course of the years that I've been in this field, somebody that sets that example, such as you, is so important, because I've seen such a difference in the long term once somebody embraces this and tries to have that positive attitude. So the more people that set that example, the better. And that's my favorite part of these support, our support groups, our speakers, our outreach, is somebody setting the example. And while hope, every single one of them I love optimism. I love E, because I love what you said, empowering yourself and empowering others. So I greatly appreciate that. I don't want to take up too much more time. We want to get to the nice little nitty gritty questions now. So I want to thank you for talking with me. And now Emmanuel's going to ask you some get to know you questions. So I'm going to let Emmanuel take it. So thank you, Andrew, for your time.
See you next week.
I look forward to it.
Getting to know you. All right, Andrew.
Don't give up your day job.
I know, right? Right. Back in the day. So we're gonna ask 5 questions in 5 minutes. Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready, Emmanuel.
You are ready? All right. Let me get a countdown on. I'm looking for There's my 5-minute countdown. And move here. All right, here we go. 5 minutes, 5 questions. Yep. You ready?
Shoot.
Here we go. What are you most excited about right now?
Writing my second book.
Ooh.
This is going to be a fictional book, where the other one was more of a nonfiction / autobiography of my medical journey. And this one is going to be called The Magical Espresso Machine. And it connects which is actually real, is my mother is a descendant of William White, who came over on the Mayflower. My Italian grandparents emigrated to Plymouth, Massachusetts in the late 1800s, early 1900s. I live in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And so both my families got connected. I keep in contact with my Italian family. I've been over there 4 times. And so this is going to be a love story of my great grandmother and great grandfather who they were best of friends. They were going to get engaged as teenagers. Something happens. It doesn't happen. They don't get together, but yet they're transposed here to Plymouth in a spiritual sense, but it's all the happenings in the spiritual side that goes along with it. So the magical espresso machine. So that's what I'm excited about. That's my new endeavor.
Nice.
Looking forward to that one. All right. What's the worst job you've ever had?
Oh, I was just talking to a guy today. Worst job I ever had was working nights, 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. when I was going to college. I went to a community college, so I was working from home. I unloaded the trucks at UPS service station, and in the middle of the winter, cold, dusty, and that's when I said to myself, dude, you better get your 4-year education, because if not, you might be doing this for the rest of your life.
Good deal. All right. What's left on your bucket list?
Travel. I'd like to have an extended period of time living over in Italy with my relatives.
Nice.
I've still got, Greek islands to see. I got, pyramids, Aztecs. I'm really into that stuff. So I just want to see really about how our civilizations began. And to me, again, it's all that connection thing that goes on. So those are still travels on my bucket list, and probably writing a few more songs.
Nice.
That's awesome. Which living person do you most admire?
Oh, goodness. Boy, living person I most admire. Wow, you stumped me on that one, buddy. Tell you what, go to the other one, come back to that.
All right. Who'd play you in a movie?
Oh, who would play me in a movie? Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage.
Because he's that a great guy, but he's got that little wild hair rebel thing to him, which I tend sometimes to have as well.
He's intense. He's just
Yeah.
Nick Cage. All right. Which living person? Again, back to which living person do you admire most?
I would probably say that one of the people that I probably admire most. Gosh, that is such. If you told me a dead person, my first choice is Abraham Lincoln. But
We might have to change it.
Yeah, I might have to change it. But is he really dead?
Exactly.
Gosh, living person. You know what? I'm going to have to say that probably one of my mentors that I had early on in my career with the apartment guide when I was in Southern California would be Ernest Orienti. This is a remarkable man. We're just a few years separated, but he really gave me, showed me what purpose of life was. And he really showed me that, life is out there. You just got to take it. You got to embrace it. And you got to run with it. His nickname for me was Wild Man. AB, you're a wild man. We still keep in touch today, but I would probably say that he's probably one that I admire the most.
Nice.
That's awesome. It's usually not somebody famous that you want to admire the most. I mean, I always refer to any of my parents or even my wife, who has scleroderma. And you had 10 seconds to spare. You got it down in 5 minutes. See, easy peasy, not too uncomfortable. It's, people get scared of that.
Not at all.
That last part of our Sclero-Sun podcast. Thank you again so much for coming by. We look forward to seeing you on the 10th for your talk. people will just have to register to get in on it. Go to scleroderma.org/SoCal. Look into our support group page, and you'll see it right on top. We also have it on our Facebook page, so please follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/scleroderma-SoCal, as well as YouTube Scleroderma-SoCal, Instagram Scleroderma-SoCal, Twitter Sclero-SoCal, because we can't fit Scleroderma-SoCal on Twitter for some apparent reason. Yes. Thank you again so much, Andrew. Thank you, Tina, for always hopping
Thank you,
along and
Andrew.
making things.
Hey, and to help get people there, we will do a drawing. I haven't figured out how yet, but somebody will get a free autograph book if they attend.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yay.
There you go. You know
We
what?
could do something with the registration, and maybe we can do like a pick out of the hat kind of thing.
Yeah.
We can announce it during the meeting.
Or whose ever birthday is on the 10th.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Hey, my birthday's on the. No, just kidding.
Doesn't work.
It's in December.
No.
Staff
That's
not
great. We'll be
included.
sharing it on all of our platforms too, Andrew, and we're looking forward to
Excellent.
seeing you soon.
All right, Manuel,
Thank you for your support.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Once again, thank you for watching for the Scleroderma-Sun podcast. It's halfway through the year. We're going to make it through 2021. We look forward to seeing you in our live events. Stay tuned for all of that. Thank you again. Good night.